Okay, in this lecture, we'll be talking about the string class and also the string methods. So what is a string? I think we mentioned the string before, but we're gonna go a little bit deeper. So string is a sequence of characters. It's another way to say text. So if you want to save a bunch of characters, like for example, an address or name or anything that has characters, the data type to use is string. And this is an example. All of them, all the text has to be surrounded by double quotation, as you can see, an opening and closing. Like for example, here, the cow jumps over the moon. That's an example of string, but it has to be surrounded by the text, because if it does not have the double quotation, then Java may think that it is a variable. So the same thing right here, President Obama, so surrounded by double quotation. Whatever the character might be, they could be like letters or numbers, digits, or even special characters. Anything between double quotation marks is called string. Now, how does the computer or how does Java save this text? So string is, as you can see right here, the characters of a string are numbered with the zero base indexes. So every character takes space starting from 0. So for example, using this as an example, string A equals J dot space Smith. So it is index based. So J has index of 0, dot has an index of 1. There's a space also. It has an index 2, S index 3, and so on. So here, every letter takes a space and has an index associated with it. Okay, now starting from 0. I know it's kind of unusual because as a human being, we are used to start from 1. But in computer science, for different reasons, we start from 0. So you need to get used to this, okay? So the first character index is 0, and the last one in this example is 7, okay? Now, what is the length? How many characters do we have? So if you want to count, you have to start from 1, because when you count how many people you have in the class, for example, you don't start from 0, you start from 1. So the length, and by the way, the length is the only method that starts from 1. So we have 1, 2, space is 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we have 8 characters total in this specific string A, okay? And then if you look at the last index is 7, which means the length minus 1. Why? Because the length will start from 1, and then the index starts from 0. So that's one difference. So keep in mind that the last index is whatever the length of that string might be minus 1. In this case, it's 8 minus 1, which is 7. Okay? Now, we're going to be talking about different methods. There are many of them, but we're going to focus on the most important ones, especially the ones you're going to be tested on in the AP Computer Science exam. The first one is length. So as we mentioned, length is a method that returns the number of characters. Every single character counts. It doesn't matter if it is a space, if it is a special character, digits, letter, anything between double quotation counts. So this method returns the number of characters, the total number of characters in that string. The second method we're going to be talking about is called charAt or charAt. So this locates or returns the character position I. Whatever that position I is, then this method will return the character located at that specific location. For example, if we use the same example here, so if we put charAt, like for example, a.charAt s, charAt 0, so it will return j, because j is the character in index 0. Okay, what about 1? If you put a.charAt 1, you're going to be having dots, because that's at index 1. That is located at index 1, and so on. If you put a.charAt 7, then it's going to return h, because h is the character located at index 7. Okay, so let's have an example about these two methods. So for this lecture, we're going to be talking only about these two uh, these two methods, but in the next lecture, we're going to be talking about other methods. So let's switch to JCreator. Let's create a new variable of type string. Let's call it str. And as you can see, string, it has to be surrounded by double quotation. So let's call it computer science. Let's print, make sure that str, when you print str, of course, this computer science will be printed or displayed computer science. See? Now let's practice the first method we just learned, which is length. So if you want to know how many characters, you don't have to count them by yourself. You can just call the method length. So first you have to start with the string, str, the object, the name of that variable. You can just put length by itself. You can just put like this. You're not going to get anything because we don't know which string you are referring to. So you need to mention the variable first, that means the object, and then you call the method length. So here it's going to return whatever the number of characters is. So let's count before we see the result. Okay, start with, remember, length will always start from 1. So it's the only method that starts from 1 because that's like a common sense. When you try to count how many items you have, you start from 1. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now space is 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So when you run the program, you should have 16. So let's find out. So sure enough, we got 16 right here. Okay. Now let's practice charAt. charAt. So we said charAt returns what? Returns the character located at index I. So the index is right here, inside the parentheses. So for example, if I want to know what is the character located at index 5, for example. So I'm going to put str charAt, which are at 5. Now remember, we start from 0. The only method we start from 1 is length. The rest of the method will always start from 0. So here we're going to see what is the character. It's t. Let's find out. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is t. See? Now what about the first one? str at 0. So what is the character at index 0? Which is basically the first one. And that's C capitalized, as you can see right here. Okay. Now, what about if I want to say, okay, what is the last character? How can I say last character? Now, here we know that it is, okay, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, which is the length minus 1. We said that. So 15. So if I put 15, str charAt 15 is going to give me the last character, which is E. Now, what about if I don't know what that number is? I just want to know what is the last character in the string. So in this case, we're going to refer to the length. So instead of putting 15, we're going to say whatever the length is minus 1. Okay. The last index is always whatever the length minus 1. Why there is that minus 1? Because in the length we start from 1, and then the rest of the method, including charAt, we start from 0. That's why we have that negative 1. Okay, so this is the same thing. If you want to refer to the last character, then you need to use length minus 1. As you can see, so we got the same answer, which is E. Okay. So in the next method, in the next, lecture, we're going to be talking about the substring, another important method, two important method, which is the substring and index of. So I'll see you in the next lecture.